And I'm going to take a measurement where the waist is. Okay?
Can you do that again? Yeah.
I'm going to place it here, leaving the extra 4 fingers at top and bottom. Remember, we're not leaving them from here. We're doing it from the HPS. Okay? Otherwise, we're going to run out of fabric. And I want to measure where the waist is. Now that I have the waist here, okay?
Sorry.
Now that I have the waist here, I'm going to get an L square and I'm going to make a 90-degree line for our waistline. So if you want to call it waistline, okay? Now, we're gonna measure from, I did it backwards, I usually drape on this side. I'm so used to it. I'm gonna measure from the waist to the princess seam, okay? And here it says 2 3/4. 2 3/4. I'm going to measure 1 inch, and in the middle of that 1 inch, it's 3 1/4. I'm going to draw 3 1/4 and 3 1/4. Why am I doing that? This will be the center of the dart. I think I drew it backwards. See, I'm so used to doing it that other side. Oh no, it's this side. Yeah. Okay? So, we are going to be considering the bottom of the ribbon on the dress form as your waistline. Okay? So I'm going to place it right there. Make sure that it's exactly on the line. You don't have to put in 11 million pins. Okay? Because too many pins will pucker, too little, it will move away from that line. And I'm going to be continuing up to the top of the neck. There's actually a book about this. I didn't want you guys to buy extra because, to be really honest, I don't like the book. I found that I explained it a little bit more comprehensively. Okay? We're good? So now we're going to be placing the waist where the bottom of the ribbon is. See, I'm leaving fullness here. I want to do that for now. Okay? And now I'm going to close the dart. So you guys remember, where does the depth of the dart go? Towards the center front, correct? So we're going to pick up from here, so the depth of the dart is going to go towards the center, and we're going to pin here the dart. Okay? By the way, your pins should not go in the direction of the dart because they will pucker your seam. Your pins will be across, always perpendicular to your seam. Once I did that, I will come back to fix the dart. I'm going to maintain this on the waist. If I need to pin this in here so it doesn't move when I'm pulling, let's do it. Okay? Then I can go and pull the waist up to the end. So see, now it's fitted. Yep. By the way, your pins should always go from the outside in. If you do it the other way, they're going to be sliding out. Okay? So now I'm going to go to the most prominent part, which is the breast. But I have fullness here. I'm going to be working on that later. The other thing I want to do is, anybody knows what this means? This metal? Anybody? Bone, veins, cartilage, muscles, tendons, right? Have you ever worn something that the armhole is too high? Does it feel like it's raping you? Right? So we're going to go 1 inch below the plate. And to do that, I'm going to get the ruler and I'm going to place a pin right here to tell me where the armhole will go. You don't want things to go up there. It's very uncomfortable. Okay? So now I can go across the chest and I'm going to put a tentative pin right there where that pin is. You can see it? Right? I'm going to put a pin there just to hold it in place. So we're working our way around. Now, let's go here at the top. If you notice, it's actually giving me fullness to give a dart right here on the top. Now, how ugly and old-fashioned is that? Okay? So who has a dart on their shoulder anymore? No one. Anyway, so I'm going to go and eliminate that and move that dart to the side. Okay? So I'm going to stretch this fabric out and pin at the HPS and then pin all the way to the end of the shoulder. I can feel the seam on the dress form in here. Okay? So here is the seam of the shoulder. Now, if you see, one of the beauties of muslin is that muslin is like Shakira. Hips don't lie, muslin don't lie. Okay? I say these stupid things just because I know it's gonna stay in your head. Okay? See how it's actually pulling? It's telling me I don't like it. This is not working out. So it's creating tension. Okay? So we're gonna cut not too close because I don't wanna cut too much fabric and then realize that I had to do it all over again. And I'm going to release all that tension. And by the way, our neckline on the front should be about 3/4 of an inch from this seam, because then you're gonna be able to, okay? So I'm gonna measure 3/4 here, and this is where I'm gonna put the pin.
We can only see your back in the video.
Huh?
We can only see your back in the
Well,
video.
it's very pretty back. Okay? So 3/4 from here. Now here on the shoulder is going to be exactly this point. So we're going to dip it towards the bottom, but not opening up on the side of the shoulder. Okay? Now I still see tension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip. So what happens now, this actually is laying better. See how I'm being able to brush the fabric away? So this moved. And look at how much I extra left, and it's exactly where I needed it. So be careful when you cut. See that now this looks nice. I'm not gonna draw anything in here until I absolutely completely finish this pattern. Okay? Because then I don't want to have like too many lines and that'd be confusing. So now I can extend the shoulder back again. So I'm going to come down to here, right? Okay. So, do we want torpedo boobs? No. So, that was a very emphatic everybody, right? We're going to measure from her bust point 1 inch down, and that's going to be the end of the bust. So if we get straight ruler, we can go ahead and create the top of the dart. And remember, I keep saying you pin perpendicular to the seam. Look at how flat it looks. If I were to pin it on the direction of the dart, look at how puckered it looks. Yes? So we're going to be pinning perpendicular to the seam. I'm going to continue brushing this fabric back again into the underarm. And you see how now it automatically is creating a nice dart. You see it? Mm-hmm. That is what the leftover it is. So I'm going to cut some of this fabric. I don't need that much fabric. It's on my way. As much as we want to call ourselves fashion victims, this is not about how to make your life more complicated. It's actually the opposite. Okay? So, I'm going to have the depth of the dart facing down. And I want my dart to be perpendicular to the floor. So I'm going to start moving my fabric. Again, see how it lines up with the bust point. So I want this to go down to the bust point, and I want it to be about 1.5 inches from here. I'm going to do here 1 inch. Here was 3/4. Here was 1 inch, and here was 1.5. So you guys remember those measurements? Yes? So now that I have it perfectly perpendicular here, I want to brush off those wrinkles. I'm going to just put a pin here because I need to measure that 1.5 inches. This is where the punch hole for this dart will be. See that I have a little wrinkle there? Mm-hmm. I'm going to fix that wrinkle by pulling the fabric. See? And this I'll be able to eliminate right here on the top of the shoulder. So why is it that we don't do the dart all the way to the bust point? Because we don't want torpedo boots. Your breasts are actually rounded like a sphere. So you don't do it exactly to the most prominent part. You do it a little bit away from the apex, from the bust point, known on the streets, nipple. Okay? So I'm going to now pin the dart. You see that I don't have a lot of pins. Also, I see that I have some tension going around here. See that? So I'm going to go ahead and cut some of it off. Okay? I might need to snip a little bit. And it releases nicely. Pretty? Now this is a basic dress. It doesn't have to be skin tight. In a bustier, we are going to be doing it more tight than this. This we're going to do a little bit of ease because it's a basic slope. Now, anybody remembers how long were the darts in your front skirt? In the back?
3.
Yeah, there's 3, right? Was 3 or 3.5? 3. 3.5. Let's see. 3.5. So that's the end of the dart. So here, I need to have that line be the center of the dart, and it ends right there. Yes? And now I'm going to finish the pattern. Now, see how there is big tension here? That is because you're coming from wide, narrow into wide. So I'm going to come in and snip it here. Always not trying to snip it all the way through. Maybe give yourself like 1/2 inch or 3/4, just in case you need some wiggle room to move. Okay? And then I can continue brushing this on the hip until my hip line. Now you see that there is a big cording on the edge of the dress form. When we do the front, we're gonna go after the cording. When they do the back, we're gonna go after the cording. That little bit of ease in there is going to give you a little bit more comfort. Okay? So I'm gonna put it down to here. So what would be your next step? Now we're going to be drawing and transferring this into pencil. I'm not going to take it off. You guys are going to keep it here so you can use it as an example. When we transfer into paper, I will show you how to do that. Okay? So first I need to do is I need to draw exactly where the shoulder line is up to the highest point shoulder, HPS. Here we're doing 3/4. I want it to be a round neck, so it's always going to be 90 degrees here. And then here is going to come down and then round it out. Yes? Close up? No?
I zoomed
Okay.
in.
For your armhole, see that we have this curve that is the edge of the shoulder? You're going to do it up to here because your sleeve is divided in 4 sections. 2 are the outside of the sleeve and 2 are the under sleeve. So from here to here is your outer sleeve, which it creates that sleeve head. From here it creates the under sleeve. So for the outer sleeve, I'm going to copy it identical. For the under sleeve, 90 degrees here, and I'm going to carve it more. And we'll be fixing this with the ruler when I transfer it into paper. See, it's creating a nice shaped armhole, like you guys have done on paper. Yes? I'm going to have a cross mark where the dart ends, and I'm going to draw the folded edge and where the fold is going for the dart. I'm going to draw the outside of that corded seam that is on the side of the dress form. See how I'm going it on the outside of that corded seam. And I'm going to draw the end of the hip that we marked with the tape. Okay? I'm going to now mark the dart here. I told you that I'm very tall. So for this dart, how many punch holes do you think that we should have? one at the end of the dart, right? Here at the waist. Remember, we're doing at the bottom of the ribbon. So here we have 2 punch holes. And then at the end of the dart. And we're gonna keep 1 notch right here at the bottom of the waist tape. And we have draped the front of the box. Pretty? No applause? Okay. All right, so this is what you guys need to do. So if you need any muslin, go get some muslin. I don't know if we're gonna need the paper today. I'd rather you guys drape this before we transfer into paper because I wanna see the 2 pieces of fabric together on the complete garment rather than thinking of the front independently in the back, because your garments are sewn from the front into the back, not independent. Okay, so let me upload.